How do you feel? What do you want to get out of it today?
Kelly, today I feel good. I'm a little bit tired. Byron's teething, so there hasn't been much sleep the last week and a bit. Today I wanted to touch base and kind of measure where I'm at with the tasks that I've done in the last few weeks, just to confirm that I'm moving in the right direction for Haven. And I also wanted to chat to you about the skin juice and the products moving forward. So Kelly, how do you feel today, and what would you like to get out of today?
Well, I'm feeling the best I've felt for weeks now, so that's I'm not tired, so that's one thing. And I'm looking forward to really getting on with this juice thing. The other thing is I want to start looking at, we've got weekly patterns that we've been keeping track of.
Yes.
What I want to do is I now want to look at them as a whole.
Okay.
Right. So by next week, what I want to have done is get all the weekly tallies that you've sent to me and put them on one page.
Yep.
So that we can start looking at it and see if something else appears, and something else that we can do so that we can continue to drive the business. Because there's one thing about, planning forward and making sure that we're rebranding, but there's also the very important thing of the day-to-day cash flow.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we need to look at the pattern of it, and it gives us a good indication of all the problems that we can have and all the reasonings that we have, so that as we brand forward and plan forward, we're really aware of what we're looking at.
Yep.
So by next week, I will have wanted to look at not the pattern going this way, but the pattern going this way. And so we can have a look at it and just see what's going on. So I'm really quite keen to do that. Okay. And also just so that we hold ourselves accountable, not, so many times businesses can say, oh, well, I'm doing this, so I don't do that. We don't have that luxury, Megan. We have to do both.
Yep.
We have to be increasing sales and rebranding and getting our product mix right. That all has to be concurrent. It can't be, we don't have the luxury of saying, well, we can plan this out. We can't, because we're in the middle of it. We must really get down to task on both the sales and the brand, and everything else that we're doing. That's just business. We don't have the luxury that other people have. So we don't have the luxury of saying I'm a mom and I'm this and I'm that. We still have a business to run, which you do very, very well. So, and you're very, very lucky that he's such a good kid. How many teeth does he have now?
He's got 2 that are popped, so his bottom 2.
Yeah.
And then he's got 1 coming from the top.
Really? Oh, he's stepped in front of Sebastian. Sebastian's got 2, but he doesn't have the 3rd. But he's got the 2 down the bottom.
The 3rd one's kind of coming down and then going back up at the moment for the last few days.
Oh, so he's been a bit miserable.
Oh yeah, he hasn't been his happy self. So.
Oh gosh. Oh well. Life being a baby, eh? Okay, so let's go back to what you wanted to talk about.
Okay, so I guess I'm waiting on the logo. So that's with the designer. When I spoke to them, it's going to take a little bit longer. I got confused. I'm waiting on one hopefully today. So what he's doing is he's looking at a friendlier font. And then he's just looking at obviously the sparkle around, just to kind of make that more of a just a clearer logo. Once I get that, then we'll look at doing the shop front and those sorts of things. But I just wanted to get the logo finalized first.
Yeah, well, I think that's important, because you build everything from your logo. So,
yeah. So
and what did the designer think about your logo? The thought.
he thought it was really nice, but he said it could be a lot clearer and a lot sharper. And he said definitely change the font to a friendlier font, very similar but more printer friendlier.
Okay, well that's good to know, isn't it? And did he like the rose gold?
Yeah, he really liked it. He said it would work well.
No, well that's good. So you've made some good decisions along those lines.
Hopefully.
No. I think it's very, very of the time.
Yeah, I think it's a lot cleaner.
And could you see what I meant by having that on the wall?
Yeah, definitely. I thank you for the is it a door or was it a sign?
No, it was a sign that I had on the wall.
Yeah. How did you put it? How did you get it to hold on the wall?
Okay, you'll see there's 4 holes.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was on a gyprock wall, so it wasn't really that. The wall wasn't that substantial. I'm sure that your walls will hold it.
Yep.
We just had we put plugs in the wall, and then we put long screws in it, and it held there for years.
Okay. Yep. Perfect.
Right, and I agree with you about painting the frame. But when I took that down, I thought, oh, I don't really want to throw this away because, it really was quite stunning on a wall.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I agree with you. You've got to paint it. The brown probably won't work, but a small can of black will, or whatever color you choose, will get it. But it'll get it to pop off your gray wall, because what happens is the wall becomes the background.
Yep.
And then you've got your thing popping off the wall.
Yeah, I think it'll look really good. I was saying to Jerry, it might even look nice with some lighting coming from behind it as well.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what the glass, and we had stickers, transparent stickers that we had put onto the glass. So a signwriter did it and just stuck it on the glass, and it's very easy to get on and off. So once you've got your logo created out, the background of your printing is transparent.
Yep.
And then you just have that, and then you just stick it on, and the glass will make it pop out.
Yeah, I think it'll look really good.
So and I mean, I think that wall, your gray wall, is big enough for that frame.
Yeah, definitely.
So no, it wasn't a door. It was actually a sign for signwriting. So.
Okay, cool. No, thank you, Kelly. That was very generous of you.
No, it was a choice between, can it be used again or will it go to the dump?
Yeah, I think it'll look really good. I was even thinking later on you could incorporate that signage through the salon, even with the doors, and you could have similar doors to the rooms with that kind of frame and frosted glass with the logo.
Yeah, it lends itself out to really do a strong brand.
Definitely.
And from my perspective, that's really what you and I have been working on, is creating a strong image, strong brand, and something that's really easy to work with. So, from my perspective, we're well on task on that. And did you look into the idea of a trademark? Did you speak to your designer about trademark?
I haven't spoken to him about the trademark yet. I'll speak to him about that today. I've looked into the trademark. What I'm doing is I'm going to change the company name. So I'm just waiting on forms from ASIC to do that.
And what are you going to change your company name to? The Haven?
The Haven.
Yeah, and it's possible to do it?
When I looked last week, yes, it was. Actually, I think it was the Haven Skin and Body. I don't think the Haven was available. I'll just double check that today and let you know.
But Skin and Body is what you want anyway.
Yep. So it's not much more to change the name. It's actually dearer to start a new company. So,
yeah, well, and Megan, I know it sounds grandiose right now, but we're not building this for a single shop. right? The whole concept is, can you divisionalize?
Yeah.
And the reason why you're wanting to build the brand around a name and not your name is because you want really to be able to use that, and then in maybe in 3, 4, 5 years time, you have your own range of products like what we're talking about right now,
Yeah.
but they'll be well branded.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's the more important thing to understand is it's, our job on a brand is to create a future, not to worry about what's there now, but what we're going to have there in the future.
Yeah.
And so
I'm happy, I'm happy to change the name because the company name that I currently have is when I first bought my first salon.
yeah.
It was somebody else's business that I purchased, so it wasn't really even my name. So I'm more than happy to start afresh, and I just think it's a lot cleaner. And like you said, it's building a brand. So
Well, it's a lot more you too,
definitely.
so and I think that that's what's important. Okay, so we got the trademark, the company,
Yep. So
all of that's moving. Would you say you're on task?
look, to be honest, I'm a little bit behind the last week because I was in the salon full time. I've just taken on a new staff member. So I've been in salon training and, trying to do everything. So I'm a little bit behind, but I'll pick that up in the next.
I'm not talking about week to week, because week to week, if there is any ever a month in a year that you want to be doing what you're doing right now, it's April.
Yeah.
April has more time off than time on, really.
Yeah.
And so it's for some reason April is the oddest month of the year, really, because it's neither your ass nor your elbow.
Yeah.
But for us to be doing what we're doing now, I think it's important, because I think the timing of it is a lot more crucial than what we think. I mean, next week we have another short week,
Yeah.
right? And so I think in the whole month of April, 3 of the weeks are short.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those months in the year that's murderous to business. But I guess if we're building something and if we're doing what we're doing now, then I think that's important.
Yeah.
So it's okay for us to say, okay, our sales are down a bit, but what are we doing while they're down? Oh, we're training new staff, we're creating a brand, we're doing those things, which make a lot of sense to me, because you may not get the time that we've got right now again this year.
Yeah.
Because normally what seems to happen is it ramps now up until end of June or beginning of July, and then it goes in a little bit, from my experience, and then it'll ramp till Christmas.
Yeah.
But by the time all of that's happening, we've got to be well and truly with the Haven. We've got to be well and truly on task for that by June, July, because we have a slight dip and then we go out to Christmas. We got to really make it a zinger before Christmas, right? November, October, November, December, and then going into the new year. That's how we've got to see it. So, to me, sales might be off task, but I think you're well on task personally for where you need to be. Okay, and so now, what were the other things you wanted to talk about? So we got through all the branding,
So
the company. What else did you want to go through?
the only other thing I feel that I need to look at is moving forward with Skin Juice, how I kind of do that. And then I just have to contact Alona to follow up on the masks and the eye patches. I'll do that this morning.
Yeah, Alona's been pestering me on Skype. What are we doing? What are we doing? She gets a bit between her teeth. The other thing is I've contacted a woman that I know really, really well, where we did all of the product lines for her hair dye,
Mhm.
you know, because her idea of hair dye was um, the dye actually destroys the hair.
Yeah.
And so what they wanted to do is they wanted to develop a line that didn't do that. And they're really confident that they've got that, but now they're saying, okay, now how do we sell it?
Yeah.
Because they don't, even having 6 shops, they don't have the volume, which is kind of interesting. So I think that we should speak to her and just find out about the volumes and the research and development and so on. But it's kind of interesting. The other thing is they're very hot on training. So I'd like to find out some of their, you know, their training methodologies and so on.
Yep.
I'd like to incorporate that so we can use some of their expertise in that as well. So, do you want me to arrange a call with Alona as well?
I don't mind. I haven't heard from her since our last email, so I'm not sure if I've missed something or.
No, Alona's a bit like that. She won't push you, but she'll push me.
That's okay. I'm
So,
happy to do either or, whatever's easiest.
well, and the other side of it is there's no reason why we can't get on a call together like we did last time.
Yep.
And I have no problem with doing it later in the evening. You know, when I say later in the evening, but for her, 5 o'clock is 3 o'clock.
Yep.
7 o'clock is 5 o'clock. But in reality, they prefer later rather than earlier. I mean, you won't get her now.
Yeah.
she'll just be thinking about getting up. But certainly we can get her later in the day.
Okay.
And if that pushes it along, because a lot of the things is that, okay, which way are we going? And Alona can't make a decision to save her life.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to make the decisions and say, okay, let's look at this. How do we get this to us? What do we need to do here? She's very good at finding out. So if you'd like to jump on a call with Alona, no problem. I'll organize a call.
Okay.
What's the best time for you?
I can be free anytime, Kelly.
Except for you're working in the salon.
I'm actually not in there today. Tomorrow I'll be in there from 2 till 9, and then Friday I'm free anytime.
Okay, why don't we do it Friday? And why don't we try and shoot for about 11 o'clock or somewhere around that time on Friday?
Yep.
I will arrange with Alona now. I will send a thing to her today so that she has all the information for us so that we can have a look at it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so we'll look at doing that on Friday. That's fine. And I again, I think that that's the right place to be, picking a niche that we believe that and the skin niche seems to be coming out a lot more today than what it was, say, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, with all the different products you can get. So I think that that's kind of a neat niche for you is you know, Haven masks and so on, stuff like that, you know, and it won't be that hard to brand.
Yep.
So that's good. Okay, so Lona will do on Friday. Now let's go to juice. What is it that we can do that we really need to do to get that moving along? You're settled on the idea that the juice will work?
I think so. There hasn't really been another product range that I've seen that has everything that they have. I feel that I love their branding, but I like their product ranges. I like how they've got the men's products and they're quite basic. They've got the mums and bubs, the pregnancy products. The only thing with juice that did kind of make me think twice would be their professional products in the treatment rooms. they don't have a wide range of, you know, skin peels and things like that, but I can get that from other suppliers. That's not an issue.
Okay, so the products in the treatment rooms, do you need to differentiate between the treatment rooms and the retailing side of the business?
Yes.
And so now you're still working on what will we do in the treatment rooms?
I think there's enough products in Juice to get to do treatments in the treatment rooms. And with the product range that I have now with Dermalogica, I can utilize both together. As in this, I'm talking more along the lines of skin peels. So all the other products are fine in the treatment rooms, your cleansers, the exfoliants. It's just more looking at your advanced treatments. But I still have like products there from Dermalogica that I can utilize.
And would you run those out, or do you have to keep buying them?
Once I run out, I'd have to keep buying them. But at this point in time, I've got enough professional product from Dermalogica, probably 3 to 5 months. So I've still got a substantial amount.
Yeah. All right. And do you have an agreement? Do you have an agreement that we can look at from Juice?
No, I can get one though today.
Well, let's both read the agreement before, so we can look at the bullet points of their agreement and just make sure that we're okay with that.
Yep.
So if you can get an agreement from them as to what their expectations would be,
yep.
And then we'll look for ways of saying, okay, this is who we are, this is what we want.
Yep.
And you know, I think the other side of it, besides the product, is always going to be the training and promotion.
Yeah.
So in my view, that's really what we've got to get. Now, they may not have the same level of training that other products will have, but certainly you won't be the first person to ask about their training stuff.
Yeah, I did ask them on my first phone call. They have very limited training. It's all web-based. And then they do 1 or 2 training sessions a year where you have to go down to Newcastle and it's on site. They don't have reps or trainers that go throughout the States. So their training, I haven't seen their online portals.
Yeah, but clearly they're not, they're still in the growing phase where they haven't had to consolidate with levels of training, right?
Yeah.
So that they must have something in the background beyond twice a year, because as they grow, more and more people, and we just want to know what their attitude to that is. Mm-hmm. Because you're not making a decision for 3 to 4 months. You're actually making a decision that's going to be for years. Yeah. And so you have to make sure not only does it look good today, but it's going to be good in 5 years' time. Right. And you know, as well as I do right now, technology was something. You look at how clear the technology is with us doing this. Yeah. And I've been studying what they're doing in Taiwan with the training, because they really do an enormous amount. They train once or twice a week with all their staff, and it's like a religion to them. And what you're starting to see is they're starting to set up videos of the trainings as well. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's kind of interesting.
I'd be interested to one day go over and like look at their training and if possible participate, just because it sounds really interesting. There's nothing like that here in Australia.
Well, I can assure you that it's not just their beauty industry, even the real estate industry and stuff like that. Just about every business that I ever viewed in Taiwan, they allow for training. They have training rooms, and they have an amazing amount of that going on. So I think that it's very doable.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to try and find out is if we can get YouTube training that has subtitles that'll go to English.
Mm.
And we'll just see what goes on there, because they really are. And then something like juice, if they're going to grow, the fastest way to grow anything today is by people using it.
Yep.
And spreading the word, right? But you want to spread the word and the message well. So as we talk about juice, what we really want to be talking about is, what do they see? It's okay for us to say, oh, we want to buy your products today and sell it today. But what we really want to know is, what do they see in the future? What do they see as, where they're heading, and, their development into the future, because they're the manufacturer, right?
Yep.
And so they've got to take a much bigger view of the market than, say, what you would take of the market. And they're developing these products for the market. So it'd be interesting to hear what they have around that.
Yeah.
And, there are 2 trainings a year that they have. Really, what do they entail? What do you get at those trainings? Is it new information, or is it just product usage information? What do the trainings involve? And I think that's very important for us to understand.
Yep.
And it's important for us to understand that and put forward to them what you're really looking for. Right? You're looking for a flagship product line.
Yep.
Right? That will grow and sell.
Yes.
You're not just looking at the sense I get of Dermalogica is that they're just interested in selling a bunch of product, no matter where it is and how it is. There you go, right there, Alona. Good morning, Kelly. She knows I'm talking to you. Dear me.
She's up early.
No, she is up early, but she's up early. Just let me send her a message. Oh, I can't, because if I do, it's going to affect our recording, so I won't. I'll speak to her straight afterwards. But she's pretty keen to get on with this. I've got her doing some other stuff too, so that's that.
I have to say thank you for the game. I was having a look at the I haven't gone through it, but I was having a look at these. Because you told me that Alona branded them all.
Yeah, well, the drawing's my drawing.
Yeah, I thought so.
And then if you look at those, you can see the sort of stuff that she does.
Yeah, I liked it. It's really good.
Well, you can
tell
see.
it was yours straight away when I read everything starts at 1 and divides.
But when you look at it, see, this is what I mean by branding. See, you've got those there in your hand?
Yep.
Okay, those are for whiteboards.
Yep.
These are for flip charts.
Yeah.
Right? And even on the flip chart paper that we created, we spent 18 months developing the flip chart paper. So if you understand flip chart paper, it leaches through the actual paper. But what we did is we created a reflective, so it reflects out rather than absorbs in. So whenever you use the color steps out onto the paper. Yeah. That's what I mean by the design. So you can design it, and what we did, and then If you see the guys I was working with on this project, you can see that there, and you'll see that. And we used to have sales partners connecting the dots. And the reason why we did that is because if you understand Kiyosaki and their methodology, Robert's methodology, and if you see it in the game board and so on, what you'll start to see is how we integrate the brand. So in all guys that are on the stage have those 4 colors. So how did we take those colors and use them, incorporate them into the brand? So we'd say, well, blue represents this, red represents this, and black represents this, and then green, and then we'd say connect the dots. Right? So what we would do is then we would then say to somebody, okay, how fast can you get somebody to see something? But you make sure that everything that you do is congruent. One thing links to the other, links to the other. So if you look at those pins there, you look at your whiteboard pins, they're not a lot different to this. They'll have the dots on them, yeah? Because our brand was the 4 dots. And we'd say connecting the dots. And we got those dots from the colors that they predominantly use. Then we created all the different training products around it. Yeah. Just like we're doing right now. We're saying, okay, we're doing that. So now you've got the cash flow game. Yeah. Okay. I didn't send this with it because it would have confused the hell out of you. But this is really what we did. So we created this brand called Cash Flow Clubs. And then what we do, I didn't realize he was in there. Right, so.
Not a Trump supporter?
You can see that this is the sort of branding that they would do.
Yeah.
But you know, Robert was very big on who you could have on your team. You know, so in the end, you get all of these, and he was very much like all of this. And if you're keen on the game, you're more than welcome to have some of the training stuff that we created for it.
Okay, thanks, Kelly.
But you know, and again, you know, one of the things that we used the game for was educating staff. Yeah. So if staff wanted to understand money, the game was really to teach them about money. And so if you want to really go through it and you want to have a night, and if you want to launch your salon, or if you want to have, you know, mums and bubs or something like that, and you want to have a game night, I'm more than happy to support you with a game night.
Okay, thank you.
You probably won't find anyone that's played it more than I have. So, and it has many variations as I have.
Yeah.
So there's that. But anyway, back to your juice thing. I think let's get the contract.
Yep. Let's
read the contract to make sure it's where we want to be.
Yep.
But you know, the things that's important to me is how far will the manufacturer support you. So you've got your salon, and we have to be careful about their brand and how it's represented in Skin and Body, right? And how it's laid out, and whether, you know, and what sort of support they'll give for that. Those are the questions I would ask. You know, it's one thing to say, okay, you got this great product, it looks good, but how do we sell it?
Yeah.
And what support will they give us to sell it? Because as much as it's about the quality of the product, it's also about, can we sell the product? Is it well priced? How do they get their pricing? Will they support us on campaigns? Do they have campaigns? That sort of thing. Do they have national advertising? How do we tap into that?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether or not, and is it common for these product lines to have marketing budgets that you contribute to?
No.
So they just take it straight off the top.
Pretty much.
So they make it all on, they sell the product, or you sell the product at a price that they create, and then all of you share in whatever they're doing.
They pretty much supply you with certain materials. So, I think it's every quarter, normally they'll release posters and,
And do they charge you for those?
Some work on points. So you buy enough products and then you can go and kind of select a certain amount of marketing material. So it might be if you spend $1,000, you get 10 points and you can go and select. I have to do a bit more research on Juice. I'll do that today to see how that works, because I know that they do have marketing materials and they do give you some once you spend a certain amount of money.
Well, I think those are the questions that we have to ask, and we have to establish from the very beginning. I mean, you'll find that I'll be the devil and you can be the angel. You really do have to have that. You really do have to have the hard questions asked.
Yep.
But you don't want to be asking them, because you got the relationship, and ultimately you have the final decision, right?
Yep.
The reason why you have me on the call is I'll ask the questions, and you can always say, well, I can get rid of that guy.
Yeah.
You understand my point? And I think that that's really, relationship is so very important in a lot of these things. When you spoke to him, you did speak to someone there, right? Or you just looked at the thing? How did they sound?
Yeah, she sounded she was actually really lovely. She was very knowledgeable about the product, which was interesting, because a lot of reps I find have in this industry have quite basic knowledge because they have a high turnover of reps. But yeah, we had a bit of a chat about her experience. She's been with them for a few years. We spoke about the company, how it was based in Newcastle. Then we spoke about, I asked her a few questions regarding the professional brands, the training, the support that they provided. And then that's when she sent me through the details and the link to the back end. So the one thing that I did notice with Juice was they don't do samples. So when you're a new company wanting to take on their range, they don't actually send you samples. They make you buy products through them to try. So I thought that was really interesting.
Interesting, good, or interesting?
Well, I said to her, I'm not willing to spend money on your product unless you're willing to send me samples to try, because they want you to buy full-size samples. So I didn't want to spend a huge amount of money on products to try them. So in the end, she agreed to send me samples. So they put together samples, and I paid postage, which I'm happy to do. But I thought that was interesting, because I thought, how can you sell a skincare range if you're not willing to send samples to potential clients?
Well, that's, that could be quite good for us, because if those are just things that we push along, like you pushed along, and we say, well, as they grow, they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to start to allow for samples, and they'll have to be part of their pricing. But maybe that's how they can get good pricing, by maintaining that. And is it who owns the company? Is it a family-owned company, or is it?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
It's not part of another company. It's not a small company inside a big company.
I have no idea.
Maybe we can search that out and find that out.
Yep.
Just by asking a few questions. Okay, well that's that. What else did you need to discuss around where that is?
I think that's fine what we've just discussed. I'll follow up on those items and get more information on the agreements, the expectations, and the contract. I think that was pretty much it because we spoke about Alona. That's all I really had.
Okay, and then the other thing that we must do is we must look at your numbers as a rolling thing. Well,
do you want me to do something with that? You said next week we'll look at it in a spreadsheet. Did you want?
Yeah, as we look at it, I'll pull it out and I'll do it the way I want it, and then you can follow it.
Okay.
So I mean, you got enough on your plate right now. I'll do what I think needs to happen so that we can really extract the information, so that as we extract it, we can actually start to see a pattern, because we'll now go week to week, you know, and then we'll look at the pattern of 12 weeks, and then we'll look at it going from there and there, and so sooner or later you'll start to be able to see it, and it's not for this salon. It's for what you would expect if you were doing something else. If you're going out and you're trying to build something else, you'd know how to do it.
Yep.
Right? Because it's pretty clear you know how to get this thing going, but it's how do we get that skill that gives you that information that you want for you know the future. Even though we're living right now, we still have to extrapolate it into the future.
It's
well,
because Monday just gone, we were fully booked. I've never been fully booked on a Monday.
Is that right? And so what does that mean?
We're getting traction with the promotions that we're doing. We're getting busier. One of the girls actually had to turn a client away. So it was
for a Monday.
For a Monday. It was our busiest Monday by far. And then yesterday, from 4 till 7 yesterday, we were fully booked for 3 therapists.
Yeah, so you can see the movement.
Yeah, definitely.
And so you can see the mums and bubs. Are the bubs coming?
I would say on Monday, half were mums and bubs and half were other clients without children. But one thing I did notice is I have pictures of Byron up around the centre, and I have on it, it says something like free naps, or free naps, and then there's a picture of Byron sleeping. I think I've sent you the poster.
Yeah.
And people are actually walking in and asking about the posters, so it's attracting a lot of attention. And we had the medical centre across from us come over and ask us what it was about, because their clients are going in and asking them if they get the free naps there.
Well, that's pretty good then.
Yeah, so it's good. It's the promotions seem to be, I feel that they're working quite well.
Well, you can't complain about that.
No, not at all.
Well, Megan, unless there's something else to talk about, I don't want to waste your time. It comes down to really quite simply, we need to, we're kind of still moving along this track of branding. Yep. And I think that once we've got the thing settled down, then we can start to move to the next thing. Yep. But I like to do one thing, and I like to do it well.
That's fine.
Okay, and so what I would say to you is that unless there's something that you want to talk about off the record.
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. Well, why don't we finish it there? I'll set up the meeting for Friday and so on, and then we'll just keep going from that moment.
Sounds good.
Okay, so Megan, how do you feel? What do you take away?
Kelly, I feel really good for today. I take away a bit more information about moving forward with Skin Juice, which I'll follow up on. So I'm actually really excited to gather more information and move forward with that. So Kelly, how do you feel about our meeting today, and what do you take away?
Well, they're getting more focused on the task at hand, and I think that that's really very important. And I think once we get the ranges, then we can start working out how to, really get the salon where you want it. Or we got to get another word, skin and body where we want it to be. And then we can really start to nail it down and start to do, like, it's pretty clear that when you have, a thing happening on Monday, mums and bubs, and then, there can be another one, another week in the middle of the week, and then maybe at the end of the week. And it's probably, we're looking at getting maybe 3 features a week. And also we've got to get back to the menu.
Yep, I've got that here to do as well.
Well, it's not a lot of point having the menu done until you got the branding.
Yep.
The concept is good. Now what we have to do is say, okay, we got this concept. How do we brand it?
Yep.
And how do we move forward with it? So I'm good with that. And I think that it's moving along where we want it to be. And we'll look at the numbers next week, and we'll have a focus on that. If you can get back to me on the contract, I'll read the contract so that possibly before next week we could have talked to Juice as well. And when do you expect the final things on the drawing, your logo to come in?
I'm going to contact them again today. I contacted him yesterday, and he said he'd have the first draft to me by end of business today.
Okay, good. So we're going to have a look at that, and maybe we can talk about that with Alona as well.
Yep. Okay, perfect.
All right. Other than that, I'm feeling very good with where we're at, and I'll catch up with you later in the week.
Lovely. Thanks, Kelly.
Okay, bye.